A group of 17 Tesla investors sent an open letter to the board of the company, accusing it of mismanagement and calling for a meeting to discuss Elon Musk's performance. I want to bring in one of those investors, Brad Lander, New York City Comptroller. It's his first interview since he signed that letter, and we're thrilled to talk to him this morning to understand why you decided to sign that letter, Brad.
Good morning, Andrew. It's great to be with you again this morning. So the New York City's 5 pension funds hold over $750 million in Tesla stock. For a long time, we saw it as something that was adding a lot of value, has been adding a lot of value to our portfolio. But we're concerned with the CEO's attention seeming to be focused much more on Twitter and on SpaceX than on Tesla, as it's facing severe challenges in the marketplace, and we need a CEO that's focused on the company.
So how do you think about that position, if you will, versus just saying, I should sell the stock? Meaning, if you don't like what management's doing, don't own the stock. Or are you a long-term holder of this stock, irrespective of who's running it?
Well, pension funds like ours, we own broadly across the economy. And yes, we are long-term holders. We've held this stock for a long period of time. And our way of adding value, we also own at GM, and we also own at Ford. We own broadly across the economy. And so what we do as shareholders is try to make sure that the board of directors is providing oversight of management, especially at critical times like this one.
Right. What do you make of the argument that New York is a state of Democrats, it's a blue state? Elon Musk has, I think, uniquely come out quite publicly, at least politically, seemingly on the right, or at least on the right on a lot of issues these days, and that this is somehow retribution?
Look, we don't engage in, he's welcome to engage in politics as much as he wants to engage in politics. What we want at Tesla is a CEO that is focused on running Tesla. Tesla's facing a whole set of challenges as new car makers come into the EV marketplace. You could hear that on the earnings call last week. And just what we're looking for is a CEO whose focus is not on politics, whose focus is not on Twitter, whose focus is not on SpaceX, but whose focus is on delivering good returns for shareholders.
Brad, do you think there's been a shift? I mean, clearly he took on Twitter, which is a third company onto his watch, or maybe a fourth company, given the Boring Company, and you could add Neuralink, and now you're at 5. But it's not as if the investors in Tesla didn't know that Elon Musk was involved in lots of different businesses and enterprises.
Look, the job of the board is to make sure that the CEO is focused on managing the company. If you don't want to go public, if you don't want to have investors elect your board of directors, if you don't want the model where your board is supposed to hold you accountable to focusing on running your company, you don't have to do an IPO in the first place. But our role as investors is to make sure that the board is providing good oversight. And that's not happening either. Look, his brother's on the board, a couple of his buddies are on the board. They've got to have a model of corporate governance that accords with the kind of company that they're running.
Okay, before Brad, as Andrew pointed out, he had all those, he was spread thin already. And maybe Tesla hit some road bumps, but no one's close in terms of having built an EV company like that. So you were fine with, SpaceX, you're fine with, the solar panels, you're fine. We could probably had 10, 12 things, but the minute it becomes Twitter and highly political, now you're going to draw the line. You really can't say, yeah, there's something to that. He's on Tucker Carlson. He went on with Tucker Carlson. That right there, you ought to get him off. You ought to get the pension out of there immediately because he went on Fox.
We even own stock in Fox News. So, this is not for us a question of politics. This is a question for us for focus. And I just don't know who could say it looks like Elon Musk's focus at the moment is
so 5 companies
is
okay, 5 was okay, 6 is not. You can run a company for 5, but you can't.
Well, I think the issue is one.
Look, he could join the board of directors. If he wants to join the board of directors, we're not saying we're not pushing him out of the company. You want a CEO who's focused every day when they're getting up.
There's no question, Brad. I'm not going to disagree. Of course, you want a CEO who's focused. I think the issue that people look at in this context is they say, you know what? When this stock was quote unquote working, and by the way, depending on when you got in, it is still working. If you got in later, it's not working.
Right.
Did you think that the value? Everybody was happy when this was like $1 trillion company. But the question, and you might have thought that he was more focused or less focused then. But did you think that was the right valuation then?
Look, we're long-term investors, as you said before. The obligations that I have to pensioners run out 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So it's not a question for me of what today's Tesla stock price is. I want to see them succeed in the EV marketplace, sell a lot of EVs. Other car companies are going to come into this marketplace, and that's good as well. The question is, what sets the company up? For me, the question is, what sets the company up for long-term success? And I believe more independent board oversight and a full-time.
Brad, I'm going to make it complicated. Does New York have any stake in SpaceX?
I would have to look. We probably do. We own broadly.
You probably do. I would bet money that you do through a number of different funds that you're in. So my question then becomes, how do you think about that on a relative basis? And is the problem, is it that you think he's too focused on SpaceX? Is it take Twitter out of the mix? Do you want him in Neuralink?
As an investor, I guess what I'd say for us is, as an investor, I'm confident that our position in Tesla is a lot bigger than our position in SpaceX. There's also a set of other governance and management challenges that SpaceX has been facing, exposures to risk across the marketplace, both from all that price pressure that's coming in, but also from human rights and labor violations. So this is a group of Tesla investors who are saying, look, we want a CEO there that's focused on that company.